Okay, so hello everybody. I've just pressed the record button. So we're going to start where are we with July now, aren't we? The July recording of our consultant Zoom session. So welcome to Kathy, Catherine and Judith. And I think we may have a couple of other people dropping by as we go through the session. So we'll introduce them as they come on board. So I think you probably know, for anybody watching the recording, I think you probably know all of us on the session today because you're all regulars on the Zoom session. So just very briefly, just for anybody who hasn't seen you before, I'm sure they have, but just in case they haven't, do you want to quickly say who you are and where you're from, just so people know? So Kathy, do you want to start?
Yeah, I'm Kathy Regan. I'm here in beautiful sunny Devon today, actually. Here from Devon, and yeah, I'm combining image consultancy with coaching and rapid transformational therapy. So, working predominantly with women to help them get rid of anything holding them back, and then help them project that through the image that's right for them. Yeah, and so I do predominantly do one-to-one work, trying to do more of that online, and I'm also doing quite a few talks and stuff now as well about personal branding and career success, and sort of next little bit got a new one next week that I'm doing about conscious leadership. So yeah, kind of linked, but I'll still be linking it all together with what we're all about. That's
Brilliant.
me.
We're all very jealous of you being down in lovely sunny Devon. Although it's not Devon.
Lovely. Just 20 minutes walk from where I am.
Oh, very nice. That would be lovely. And Catherine. Oh, have we lost Catherine? How about Judith then?
Yeah, I'm here. Hi.
Hi.
For those of you who don't know me, most of you probably do. I'm Judith Mercer. I've been running my business for 10 years this year. And I'm working primarily, well, I'm working entirely with women, primarily women in their prime, as I like to call them, women from sort of mid-40s upwards. One-to-one basis. Generally, I do workshops now and again, but mostly one-to-one. And I'm also starting to try and work more with women who are running their own businesses and helping them ensure that the way they look is in line with their brand, because we are all our own brand, aren't we? So so just making sure that they've got everything in place that makes them look the part, and that confidence comes out, etc., if they're speaking or if they're just promoting their business at networking events and that kind of thing.
Right.
So that's me.
Thank you very much. And Catherine, can you hear us? Oh, I'm not sure if Catherine. Oh, Catherine says, sorry, my sound has gone.
Oh dear.
Look, we'll try another device. Okie dokie. Right. So we'll catch up with Catherine in a few minutes when she rejoins us. Just to say to everyone as well, so the three of you were at our 35th anniversary event, so thank you very much for joining us at that. Kathy, I should say, unfortunately had to join us virtually because you had a problem with your car on the day, didn't you? But you were still able to join us and see the speakers, so that was great to at least have you involved, even if we couldn't send down the line to you. So sorry we couldn't do that. And I just wanted to say that I will be putting together an issue of Connect. I planned to do it. Where are we now? It would have been end of last week, but it's one of those days where I woke up with a really bad head and it just got progressively worse, and so I lost the afternoon when I planned to write Connect and had to end up going to bed for a couple of hours because it was just such an awful headache. I couldn't get rid of it. So, and it still was there a little bit the next day as well. So I plan when I'm back from holiday, because we go on Thursday just for 5 days. So I've got some time scheduled to finish working on Connect. So I'll get that out, and there'll be some photographs of the anniversary event for anybody who didn't see us and couldn't join us. So that will be coming out soon as well.
Great.
So we've got Catherine back. Excellent.
You're really loud now.
Oh, I can see you. Excellent. So do you want to just introduce yourself as well, Catherine?
I have no idea what anyone else said. So I'm Catherine Jose, based near St Albans in Hertfordshire.
Lovely. Thank you, Catherine. And do you want to just let people know who you work with and what you particularly do?
Okay, so I'm primarily a career coach, but I also work in coaching and personal impact, hence my connection to First Impressions. Specifically, I work with small businesses and primarily, and with the career coaching, quite a lot of young people. And I run 3 local networking groups, one of which I was at this morning.
Great, lovely, thank you very much. And do any of you have any particular questions or topics that you wanted to talk about today, or was it more of a just coming on to say hello and catch up with each other?
Well, I wanted to ask Lynn whether we had any further information from following the forum. The lady that was talking to us from Greenpeace, she was going to put together some slides for us. Have they come through at all? It was sort of a condensed version, wasn't it, of what she'd been talking about?
Yeah. Funny enough, it reminded me to think about that because I was going to be coming on the Zoom session. So I've emailed her this morning to ask her, because what I'd like to do is when I do the next Connect, I want to put that in so it's there and people can go back and find it as well. I might send it out separately so people can just have that as a standalone, but I'll certainly put something in Connect about it as well. So I've sent an email to her and I've asked if she's able to get something to me by the time I come back from holiday, so that then I come back on we travel back on the 9th, so I'm back to work on the 10th. So I've got some time in my diary that week to finalise Connect and get it sent out. So I'd like to include it within that version. So fingers crossed, I'll have it by then, unless she's away on holiday. I don't know until I get a response. So I'll keep you posted on that.
Thanks. Yeah.
Just related to that, I was going to mention that at the event we obviously looked at sustainability and we looked at all of the aspects around not just the sustainability of actually manufacturing clothing, but all of the things we could do to help the environment and to be a little bit more sustainable with the way we wear our wardrobe. And I'd suggested at the event that maybe we do a little challenge that we could put out on social media where we decide what we're going to do and how long we're going to do it for. So for example, you could say for the next month I'm not going to buy anything new and I'm going to only wear clothes from my wardrobe, or you could even say for the whole year. So that would be down to people to decide what they would be most comfortable with, and that would be a way of us marketing. So it's a great way of all of us being able to share that, and it's something to be able to talk about on social media, and it fits in obviously very well with those green credentials, and it shows people that if we can do it as image professionals, then hopefully anybody should be able to do it as well. And I think it really would showcase what we do, because we could either post our outfits on there or just say what we're wearing or talk about how we're mixing and matching what we already have. So that seemed to go down quite well on the day, and what I'd intended to do was do a little survey to go along with Connect and just see what everybody else thinks, you know, the people that weren't there on the day. So I still intend to do that as well when Connect goes out. So is that still something that you're interested in participating in?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I think if we get the the sort of summary from her,
yes,
because I think it would be quite good to be able to do, say, like a post with information and share that more widely, and then say as a result of that, we're going to do this challenge so that it's connected, because that could have quite a big splash. And if we all posted it on our platforms and through our networks and stuff, that could have quite have the ripple effect, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. And I think it'd be quite nice throughout the summer period when it's perhaps a little bit quieter. It'll be quite nice for us all to have something we can be sharing on social media, because it gives you don't have to worry about content then for that month necessarily. You've got that you can share quite easily. And as I say, it depends. We might want to do it for longer and have, it could be a month, 3 months, 6 months, whatever people want. We could even make that down to the individual to decide, this is my commitment and what I'm going to do. And you might find if it's really popular with your clients and it really gets a lot of traction, you might decide to then extend the period over which you do it as well. So I think that could actually attract quite a lot of press interest as well, potentially. It's certainly worth trying to get it out there, isn't it, and see what people think. So, but it really made us think, didn't it? It was a really good presentation, and I'd heard lots of different elements of that before, but it was great to hear just how much research is going into that from Greenpeace, because obviously other individuals that we'd seen talk before were individuals who were doing their own thing, but to hear from Maddie, who is involved with Greenpeace, it just shows when there's a bigger organisation behind it just how much more can be. So it's that whole thing of the sum of the parts, isn't it? Or so I think that would work really well if we all got on board with that. So I've still got that on my list to follow up when Connect goes out, because I wanted to do it all in the the one edition really, and put it rather than piecemeal sending out the information. I wanted to do it all as one big article and include that in there. So as soon as I receive that from Maddie, I'll get that out there.
Super. Yeah, I think that would be very good. I think it would be, as you say, with summer being a quiet time, it would be good to have something like that we could put on social media and in newsletters and things.
Yeah. And I was just thinking earlier on of a hashtag perhaps that we could use, and I was just thinking quite simply of hashtag wear your wardrobe. I think that would be quite a simple one. And we could then also use hashtags that Greenpeace use as well, so we can ask Maddie for some guidance on that to make sure that then it might be picked up by a wider audience as well that are already following those particular hashtags. So we'll see what she thinks when she gets into it. So right. And you all saw my email about going on holiday on Thursday, didn't you? So that if you want to order anything, then as long as you get it into us by end of day on Wednesday, then that can still be posted on Thursday. Because although it's Nigel and I that are going away, my parents are coming here to stay with Grace while I'm away, so they won't have access to the products to send them out whilst I'm away. So that's the reason for that. But they can at least pack them on the Wednesday evening and bring them over with them and post them on the Thursday. So that won't be a problem. Brilliant.
I just wondered if anybody was going to the FIPI conference in September.
I won't be, to be honest. It usually clashes with a tropic event that I try and go to. So it did last year. I would have liked to have gone last year, but there was some interesting speakers that I would have liked to have seen, but I'd already got booked up for this other event, and I think it clashes again this year, so I won't be going, unfortunately.
Okay.
And I don't think I will either, because it's my big birthday in September, so I've got quite a few things that I'm organising.
Let you off then, Lynn.
Well, that's a good one.
So I think on that day, I think that clashes with, I'm going to a place called the Jam House in Birmingham, which is where they have live bands, and it's got sort of a mezzanine level where you can sit and have dinner, and then you can sort of look down and see the band, but then you can go down and it's you can dance as well. So it's a jazz band that plays covers. So I'm going to that with a few of my friends. So so I plan lots of little things over.
Excellent.
I can't go this. It does look interesting though. They've got some interesting speakers on, haven't they?
Yeah.
So, how about you, Catherine?
No, I've not been following it, to be honest. So, I don't actually even know when it is.
So I think it's on the 21st, I think,
Oh,
so,
I'm on holiday, so
yeah.
Excellent. How about you, Catherine? Did you have anything in particular that you wanted to cover?
Well, funnily enough, I was going to follow up with the same thing as Judith, which was about that, because I'd quite like to think of something, if I could, that I could do with my networking, because I've got 3 networking groups. Could have a challenge sort of against each other or something. I don't know. I haven't thought about it enough yet. But I agree with Kathy. We kind of need to remind ourselves what the theme was and
Yeah.
the reason we'd be doing it, because I think we were all very taken in at the time. But things fade, don't they? So you kind of need to remember what it was, and obviously then inspire others to think, yeah, actually, we should do something as well. So, so yeah, that would be good. What else? I had a lady today came up to me about doing. Well, I suppose it's partly because we did props today at my meetings. I suggested we all took a prop in and talked a bit more about our business, and I couldn't decide what to take in because we obviously have quite a lot we can take in. But I actually took my corporate drapes because I realised my corporate drapes probably mean more to me than anything else. So they're kind of my jewels, my crown jewels, really. I love my corporate drapes. So, but the reason I was explaining why we use them. And, you know, I guess it was helping me as well think about, well, what is it I really want to ask people for? And I think it is definitely for me, it's working with small groups. And using the corporate drapes, obviously, is where that all comes into place. So, no, I suppose I'm just thinking about perhaps going forward and just try and think of different opportunities to work with small groups, because a lady then came up and said, yes, actually, I think there's a couple of my friends I'd love to sort of do perhaps something with. And I kind of quite like the flexibility then to be able to sort of say, well, you know, let's talk about how long do you want it and all of that. So, so yes, I think that's probably what I'm going to think about doing a bit more of, or trying to find different ways of getting not the big groups, but the small enough groups you can make an impact, but it's very cost effective for them, and they know that you manage their expectations that they're not going to get it all whistles and banners and everything else. But you know, it's kind of enough to do that. And then just talking about Tropic. Judith, we have, as I mentioned to you, a lady in the group who does Tropic, and I obviously try and help the members in the group as I run it. So I've offered to do an evening with her, which I don't think I'd get anything out of, you know, directly, but to do just a talk to make it a bit different, having the pampering evening. So, you know, because she wants to kind of invite the same people again, and you need to add something else to it. But I was thinking of just doing cool and warm with them. I just wondered what your thoughts were on that, as you are a Tropic lady as well.
Well, certainly in terms of the makeup, I think I said at the forum that there are the lipsticks. There are only 8 lipsticks at the moment in the new, because it's the brand new range of makeup. And there are, I suppose, mostly they're cool shades, but there are a couple that are warm shades, and actually the one I'm wearing at the moment, you probably can't see it very well, it's called Fresh Fig, but it's quite a good one for anybody, for cool or warm.
Okay.
So I can wear it. I've used it when I did a makeup workshop it was a couple of months ago now, and everybody put the Fresh Fig on and it suited them all. So that's quite a good one. But then there are others that I say there's 8 in total. 1 or 2 that are warm, the rest really are cool. And so this Fresh Fig one is really quite nice, neutral for anybody. As far as the eyeshadows, there's certainly blushes that are cool and warm.
Okay.
Eyeshadows, a lot of them they're all neutral colours, because that's what's in fashion at the moment. So that's what they've started with.
Sorry,
and
what are?
The eyeshadows.
Oh,
they're all quite neutral colours.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's partly because that's what's in fashion at the moment.
Yeah, yeah.
But also because probably it's easier to get the natural pigments, because obviously it's all natural.
Right.
It's probably easy to do that with neutral colours, but I would imagine there'll be more colours that come out in September. That doesn't help you right now, I know, but
well, I'm not doing it till September with an
okay.
Because it's no point over the summer, really.
No, okay.
I would do one for early September.
So the let me see if I can get the date of the.
But do you think that's the right thing do you think that's helpful for her, just having me do something on cool and warm and take my corporate drapes? Is that going to help her business? Do you think she'll sell some things as a result of that?
Well, yes. I mean, even if it's just sort of lipsticks and things, but I mean, because I mean, if people wanted to buy the blushes and the eyeshadows, etc., then that's a larger sum of money, because you really want them to try and put a palette together, which that's eyebrow colours, eyeshadows, blushes, concealers, all that kind of thing. So if she wanted to do it around the makeup, then yes, she could get some good sales from that. If you're talking about Cool and Warm being perhaps the most the easiest way to do it for makeup. I mean, Cool and Warm is a good place to start, I think, really, isn't it? When you're talking about the colour analysis anyway, and that's where it links in with the makeup. So I haven't really tried to use the two together myself so far. But yes, I mean, I would imagine if she's going to be sort of, if she was promoting just the makeup when you're doing Cool and Warm, then yeah, there's no reason why she shouldn't get some good sales from it, and you might pick up some as well.
Yeah. It'll all be ladies, I don't know. And she's actually asked me to do a talk as well for a local women's group that she's set up. So, you know, that's all good. And I think once I do a few things like that, I probably ought to just continue to try and push to do similar stuff, really. Rather than just wait for stuff to come to me, which tends to be what I do.
Yeah, another feeling. But I mean, I think, you know, if you just did Cool and Warm, probably from that you can obviously tell them about how you can expand on that, and maybe follow it up with any ladies that are interested, that want to take it further in a group.
Yeah,
or maybe
exactly. Yeah. So I feel quite like, actually, let's, you know, maybe start that all in September and try and come up with a few ideas like that and do that sort of thing. But so we'll just wait and see. I mean, Tropic seems to be a sensible one to do, because she's getting quite good visibility of it now, so in the group. So rather than introduce something that nobody's heard of. Although interestingly, a Mary Kay, Lynn, this is for your information, a Mary Kay consultant suddenly popped up on the local St Albans, in the St Albans area, because I don't think there's very many of them in the country. Someone did pop up there, so it'd be interesting to see how she does.
Not many in the country, did you say? Or
not around our area. I've never seen any. Yeah, there's not many in Hertfordshire for sure. So
yeah, because there are thousands in the country. Gone to an event and it was absolutely heaving.
Yeah, it's massive.
There are loads, but I think there are lots in the London area. I don't know where. There are a lot of them, but
and actually, just another interesting observation, talking about networking groups, is I saw the Athena, which is a franchised, it might be Women in Business. Athena, which is a franchised business, has about, in this area, quite a few local groups. And I noticed they put a post and said that in 4 or 5 of their local groups, they haven't got an image consultant. Really interesting, because that used to be like being a solicitor. It was, or a photographer. That was the grabbed slot.
Yeah, interesting. No, it is.
I think that's maybe interesting times. I was kind of tempted to say, well, maybe that's because you shouldn't be calling them image consultants anymore. You know, things have moved on. But I thought, well, I won't get into that debate on social media. But I just thought it was really, really interesting that they still assumed they should have one, but actually they're not considering, is there a reason, that there are none?
No, that is.
What I found interesting when because I was a bit late to the game setting up my Facebook business page, and you know what it's like, you have to go with the categories, don't you, that they use, and Facebook are still using image consultant. When you
I haven't looked to see what I am on Facebook.
Because I've done mine fairly recently. So I was looking for, so they did have, so it's quite strict because you can't free type. When you page, you can't free type the categories of, what you're doing. So I did, personal coach is on there, so that's fine. But anything else other than image consultant wasn't, and Facebook are still using image consultant, just for information.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think you're right. I think on, lots of drop-down lists like that, they're never very full, are they? So I would be choosing something like business consultant, or as you said, it might be training or coaching, something along those lines. But I don't actually pick the image consultant one because I do very little of that personally anymore. So, but it is difficult trying to find a category that matches, because it's quite narrow, isn't it? So if you do several things, it doesn't really what you do.
And it'll let you choose a minimum of 3. So that's the way I did it. I put three areas. So
yeah, that's good. I might have chosen a different type when I set up the first impressions page. Choose local businesses, or there are all sorts of different options.
Yeah.
So I think depending on what you choose for the first option, then depends on which options you get later on, if that makes sense.
I think so, yeah.
Template, and you get certain options. So yeah, but mine's been going some time now, so I can't really remember what I chose for mine now. So
no, neither can I. I don't think if there was at one point there wasn't even the option of image consultant, and I was literally just picking consultant. And I mean, that could be anything, couldn't it? It's not really very helpful. So, but I'd have to have another look, really.
yeah.
So what do you all call yourselves now? Do you not call yourselves image consultants?
No. Well, but then I'm not really, to be truthful, am I? I'm not. I call myself a career coach and a personal impact coach.
Right.
I've put it down. Yeah, I've put the combination of things on the about section. I've probably, how do I word it? Something like professional image consultant. So I say about the coaching, and professional image consultant. So, but link the two together.
Excuse me a moment. I'm sorry, Patty's being very noisy because I've got a delivery just arriving. Just excuse me a moment, please. Sorry.
I think the awful thing about this, Kathy, is I know Lynn and I have had this debate for many years about what to call yourself. And it's a really, really tough one. And I mean, if anyone said, oh, you're an image consultant, I wouldn't disagree with that. But it's that because we've never ever come up with anything else. And that's probably partly the problem. So I shouldn't really blame people for saying, oh, we need image consultants. What I think is, for me, they think of it as, I don't know what they think of it anymore. I don't know what anyone calls it, because it's not a stylist. It's not.
No, it's not. It's not a personal stylist, because for me, that's even more narrow.
Yeah, and that's not really what I do anyway. I'm much more about the impact that colour gives to people in interviews or in their careers. So I kind of never wanted to be called the colour lady. So there's always that thing about that bit, but we've just never come up with anything really. And personal impact, I'm still not sure that it necessarily resonates with people, because if you don't get the chance to explain what you're talking about, then it could just be they think you're doing presentation skills.
Yeah, it is tricky. It's tricky.
Yeah. I think when I used to do more of it, I used to call myself something like what did I say? I think it was an image and impact coach, because I was combining the coaching with it as well. And sometimes I talk about personal branding coach as well. But I tend now to probably put more of a business consultant, and then I'll put the author, speaker. When you get LinkedIn, you can put a longer title. I put the things that I think people might be searching for, because often people are looking for a speaker, or I've been on a few author panels recently, so it's quite useful to have the author bit in there, and then the business consultant, because I want to do more of the corporate work, which is not really, I very rarely get asked just to do something on image now. It tends to be more about the communication or behaviour or all sorts. I've done communication this week. What else have I done more recently? I did something about project management recently as well. Which,
so when you say communication, Lynn, are you talking about body? What are you talking about? Body language or verbal communication, or what are you meaning?
Yeah, all of it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So do you bring visual communication into it at all then?
Yes.
Right, but not leading from that.
That's right. Yeah. So it depends on the client really, because everyone I do tends to be bespoke. So it depends what the client's key objectives are. So what are their learning outcomes, and what do they want their group to do differently as a result of that? So quite often there is an aspect of a visual image as well, but it's not always the thing that we lead with. It's more about, you know, how they communicate with each other, and communication styles and communication preferences. So it just depends really what the person's looking for.
Yeah, and I think that is the key thing, isn't it, really, is I do wonder sometimes when you look at the industry and the fact that, I mean, as we discussed at the forum a bit, you know, because there's been so much of it all out there, and whether it's right or wrong, you know, Kettlewell, as we said, do their own little, you know, you can do their own little survey to work out what colours you are, and etc. etc. And I think people are a bit more savvy about all of that anyway. But I think the main thing is that people don't want to be as judged on how they look these days. So if I think back to 10 years ago, when I was doing a lot more, well, even 5 years ago, 5, 6, 7 years ago, when I was doing a lot more about dressing for interview, you know, you could do dress codes, but actually dress codes now is really hard to do, and especially for business, because actually, apart from dressing for your interview, when you see if you go on the tube into London and see what people wear to work, I just come away horrified, because I feel like I'm a dinosaur, because actually I wouldn't be able to teach anyone what to wear to an interview in London anymore, I don't think, at times, because they really literally don't dress at all. I think it's really hard. When I trained, we had very, very clear styles of dress, for working dress. But I think now that is very blurred, and I think we could be in danger of looking antiquated if we reeled out some of the stuff we actually originally learned.
You can adapt it though, can't you? You can adapt that to, I think that's where, because even personal branding gets mixed up a bit with image consultants. Because personal branding could be, you know, anything. They kind of think you're going to help them design their website or something.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it is really, really tricky, but you can adapt it. You can adapt. You know, you can kind of relax the dress codes and just go more. I think that's where it links in well to coaching and things. You just go more on what's your purpose, what's your passion, what's your values, you know, what are your skills and talents, and then how do you project that in the way that you look and who you're having to deal with. And actually that needs to be really adaptable, because you deal with different people on a daily basis, kind of thing. So I think it's still highly relevant. And you know, we just have to flex it a bit, don't we?
Yeah, and talk more about the appropriateness of the role that you're doing, rather than being, you know, rigidly, as we used to years ago. We'd have our presentation, and here was your formal, here was your business casual, and all of that. And none of that really adds up anymore. So I totally agree, Kathy. It's very much about, you know, the individual, what their role is, and how they're going to come across to the people who are their target audience at the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is about being adaptable and flexible. And a company I went to yesterday, they told me they have no dress code at all. We were talking about communication generally, but they brought up dress code. There were apprentices, and they were saying it depends which department you're in, because you could be on a factory floor, or you could be in a more sort of back office role, where it is more of an office environment. And I noticed the guys generally just had shirts, you know, patterned shirts on. Either some were plain and, you know, lots of blue as I looked around the office. So they've really just adapted one uniform for another. So for the guys, it tends to be chinos and shirts. Whereas the girls, it seems to be a bit more varied, because there's a lot more choice about what they can wear. And I think actually the girls and the women in the office have got more opportunity to get it wrong, because actually you can't go that far wrong with a pair of chinos and shirt. It may not fit very well and those sorts of things, but actually you can't go too far wrong. Yeah, it's very rare you'd get a guy wearing something that's too revealing, for example, or too short. open too much, it just doesn't really happen. Whereas the women in the office, they've got much more of an opportunity to get it wrong, I think, in an office environment. So yeah, we were talking a little bit about that, and we still talked about, because they're apprentices and they're going all around the business, and they'll get to work and be on secondment, because it's a very big business, they'll be able to go to different parts and learn. And I talked to them about dressing for the job you want rather than the job you've got, because I said, even in this day and age where there is no dress code, it will still be important to demonstrate that you've got the right skills and ability and level of seniority through the clothing that you wear, because people do still use it as a visual anchor. So I think it still matters, but the lines are a bit more blurred. As you were saying, Catherine, it's not quite as cut and dried. But I still think making people aware of the dress codes can help them. It helps them to understand, if it's, rather than it being one dress code or another, it's now more of a continuum, and they can decide what continuum they need to be. I think that's perhaps a better way of thinking about it now, to make it more relevant.
But it's interesting what you were saying about that company didn't have a dress code. I wonder how many organisations now actually don't have dress codes. It's like we used to just assume that you'd start a new job and it would all be there and you'd be told. But I wonder,
Yes. Yeah. And in some respects, I think people like a dress code because it's simpler. And people will still try and bend the rules a little bit, just as we do when we're at school. But actually having a dress code and policing that dress code, I think, is a much better way to, in some respects, because people know where the boundaries are. If there are no boundaries, it's a bit more difficult then. But then there's the opposite way, isn't there? Was it the general manager of, I think it was General Motors, wasn't it? Or the CEO of General Motors. And she said, we don't have a dress code because I expect the people that work here to understand what's required from a business context. So there's that element of treating people like grown-ups as well, and allowing them to dress within the realms of what you think is appropriate. But then it's more difficult to have any kind of discipline around it if there isn't a dress code, because you can't really put something.
Yeah. It's interesting because my daughter works in retail. She works for Lipsey of London in the buying office, and they're on very poor money, all of them, until they get up quite high. So buying clothes, admittedly, they can get a lot of clothes free, etc. But or about a year, she's been there 2 years now. About a year ago, the buying director said they're all looking, they weren't suitably dressed. They needed to start dressing like they worked for where they worked. And now she goes in all these outfits, which honestly really aren't suitable a lot of the time to be going on a public transport. But that is what they're expected to wear, and they have to wear, not necessarily Lipsey clothes, but have to be really trendy and modern and showing that they're kind of with it, which is amazing really, because the majority of them don't meet anybody other than they're inside, until they get to a certain level, they don't all go out to meet suppliers. So it's not a job where they're meeting people day to day. It's very interesting how clear they are on it. And she has to really think what she's wearing. But there's no difference between her daytime and her home, clothes. And there's certainly not flesh as in all falling out, but there's a lot of short tops with a lot of flesh, which, I don't think going into London it's perhaps the best thing to be doing on trains and, underground, etc., is it? With all sorts of people you're mixing with. So, but there we go.
Yeah, very strange. Oh, Kathy's just said she's still here, but she thinks her screen is frozen.
Right. Okay. Well,
yes, it looks like it. Yeah.
And don't worry, Kathy, it has frozen in a very neutral pose. So
Yes.
Oh, yes, that could be awful if my mouth was wide open.
So just keeping my eye on the time. It's 10 to the hour. So is there anything else that people had any questions on or wanted to?
Did you have any, sorry, Glyn, did you have any more thoughts about the date of the Christmas Forum? We kind of threw a bit of a wobbly and said, oh, hang on, lots of us can't do that date.
Yeah, so I'm in the same communication I send out, I'm going to put it out to people and see. So we said people couldn't do the 6th, could they? So we were going to be looking at the 13th instead. So did that work?
Friday the 13th.
That was right. We did say that, didn't we?
Yeah, I forgot that bit. I'm just looking now.
Well,
I know I can do it, but I mean, I'm only one of many. So I think you're absolutely right. Go with the majority, really, if people answer and respond.
Yeah, so what I'll do is I'll ask people whether they want the 6th or the 13th, and I'll also ask if people want to do an overnight and go for dinner again, or whether we just want to do more like we did for the 35th anniversary and do a lunchtime event.
That worked really well, actually, I thought, didn't you? I thought that worked really well.
Yeah, it was nice. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. It obviously, if we're doing a sit-down lunch, it just makes it that much more expensive rather than the buffet.
I think that might have been what put one or two people off, that it was a little bit more than they wanted to spend or felt they could afford to spend. That may have been.
Yeah, possibly. So maybe sticking just to the format, but maybe what we could do, depending on where we hold it, is we could almost do a mix and match. We could do a buffet lunch, but have some of those sort of cafe tables where we can sit down together, rather than it being more of a wander around with your plate type of lunch. So we could perhaps do a little bit of both, depending on, where I think actually the only other thing I'd say is we all get a bit fed up with eating in December, don't we? So perhaps the eating part isn't so big. I think it was important for the 35th it was a proper event, and I think it was right to do a lunch or an evening, whatever you were going to do. But maybe with the Christmas one, we really probably aren't as interested in the food as we are in getting together and, making sure we do try and meet up twice a year if that's possible. Yeah, so just more of a buffet. And I'll also ask people on the same survey what they would like to have included on the list of speakers as well for December, because of course it'll be here before we know it. So I need to start.
Yeah, I know. I hate to be the one who mentioned it, but I am, aren't I? I'm usually the one who's going, don't mention that word.
Around very fast, so it's thinking about what we want to include for the next one as well. So I'll ask people's views on that and see what we do, and probably have fewer speakers at the Christmas one and more networking and open forum times. I think that worked really well. So that's good.
It's always nice to do that, to catch up with everybody and network. Definitely.
And we might be lucky enough to get a couple. I'm thinking of our lovely ladies up in Edinburgh or Glasgow, wherever they are, on getting some people zooming in like we've had sometimes, haven't we?
Yeah.
To include people.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and I think that works quite well. And it might even be that...
Stop it. Sorry.
It might even be that we put that out as an option. So if people can't come, because I think that worked quite well for Kathy, having you zoomed in, didn't it?
Yeah, can you still hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh,
yes,
good. Yeah, okay. I don't know what's happened to the screen. I was wondering whether I'd completely gone. That was it worked really well. It was I enjoyed my little bit of mackerel on toast while you had a nice meal. That bit wasn't so nice. That bit wasn't so good, but yeah, it did work. It means at least you don't miss out on any content, which is really good, isn't it?
So maybe we even try, I know it's really lovely to get together, but there are people who can't travel. Obviously the ladies up in Scotland, it's very far for them, and then we've got the consultants overseas as well. So perhaps we try at some point as an extra to see how it works, doing a completely online conference and just see how that works for everybody. So a bit like this, but we bring in speakers as well and record it and do it as an online forum of some sort.
Well, Kathy and I'll have to improve on our ability then, me with my volume and you with your freezing screens before then.
I know. Well, it
doesn't really go with first impressions, does it?
It can work, because I was on a whole day virtual workshop. I know we did ours, but I've seen it done on Zoom where the speakers come in on the screen share, and so it's it's the way to go. I've just got somebody knocking on my door, actually, Lynn. Is it okay if I just whiz off?
Yes, of course. Well, I think we're all done. So
yeah,
okay, brilliant. Lovely to see you.
And you.
You too, Kathy. Take care.
Okay. Bye.
And I'll, as I say, after the holiday, I shall get the Connect and all the bits and pieces out to you as soon as I can after that.
Lovely. Where are you off to then?
It's one of our TVR car club.
Oh yeah, of course it is. You said, yeah, brilliant. Oh, I hope the weather stays nice for you.
So we're off to the Alps. So we cross.
Lovely.
Thursday morning, we're going over to Calais. So we all meet up and get together Thursday evening. And then we set off Friday morning and we go down through France. I think we also go a little bit into Italy, and then it sort of goes down the country, and then we go round at the bottom, sort of round into Switzerland and then back up again. So
it sounds wonderful.
Yeah,
how many miles will you cover?
Oh, probably nearly 2,000, I think.
Wow.
So the long one of the days, there's 7 hours driving because we go into Val d'Isère. So it's a very long drive one day. Normally not quite that long, but obviously because we need to get down, I think the first day is a lot of motorway driving just to get near to the nice roads. And then there'll be, you know, those, I don't know what you call them, but those sort of, I think they're called swishback roads, you know, the ones that you sort of do that, the curly James Bond type roads.
God, it's hurting my stomach thinking about that.
Great fun though, won't it? Absolutely fun.
Yeah, I can't.
Oh, well, it'd be lovely. Enjoy.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, Kathy, did you say you're back?
Yeah, no, yes, I just caught the tail end of Val d'Isère, Lynn. Yeah, wonderful.
So it's the TVR car club trip that we're going on. So we're going over on Eurostar, and then we go down through France, a little bit into Italy, and then we go round a little bit of Switzerland, and we sort of go round a circle and then back up the way we came. So
fantastic! Yeah, all around the mountains, lovely.
Yes, really
good have a lovely time.
Thank you very much, and I'll catch up with you next time.
Yeah, great to see everybody.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you.
Great to see you. Take care. Bye.
Bye.